This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
It's a great deal for everybody. It's everything we wanted.
This doesn't mean that Denmark can agree to a deal.
Significant impacts in our region.
Gold and silver, it's God's currency. So even though stocks may lose, gold and silver, it's always going to hold.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Call it the art of the deal. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mark Webster. Hours after he stated the case for why he thinks the U.S. should control the strategic Danish island territory of Greenland, Donald Trump strode into a lobby full of lounge music, telling reporters he's now worked out the framework of a deal with the head of NATO on Greenland, though he was pretty short on specifics.
It's a great deal for everybody. It's everything we wanted, including especially real national security and international. It's right now a little bit in progress, but pretty far along. It gets us everything we needed to get.
Fox Business reporter Edward Lawrence at the World Economic Forum meeting in Davos, Switzerland.
I did see the Danish foreign minister say that he is excited now to be able to have talks with the United States representatives on his side to see where they can go forward. Now, this doesn't mean that Denmark should agree to a deal. And I can tell you, I talked with 2 European commissioners today, and both of them said that Greenland is not for sale.
So we'll have to wait to hear exactly what sort of agreement has been reached. But again, President Trump says he has the framework of a deal in place concerning U.S. interest in Greenland. Another big story today is not what's happening right now, but what is likely to happen this weekend. A potentially catastrophic winter storm that will affect states from Texas all the way to New England, including New York and Pennsylvania.
We believe there'll be significant impacts in our region. Snow, heavy snow, increasingly likely now from Saturday night through Sunday night amidst an Arctic cold air mass.
That's meteorologist Kevin Williams. His forecast for your area coming up during this newscast. Well, news of a Greenland deal gave stocks a swift upturn to end the day after big declines over the past couple of days over fears that the Greenland dispute might spark an international trade war. However, the market uncertainty has been a literal gold mine for those who are invested in that precious metal.
As stocks plunged Tuesday on President Trump's latest tariff threats, gold climbed above $4,800 an ounce for the first time. This Midtown Manhattan jeweler says gold is an investor's ultimate haven.
Gold and silver, it's God's currency. So even though stocks may lose or dollar may lose its value, but gold and silver, it's always going to hold.
Many analysts have predicted gold prices will rise above $5,000 this year. At least one predicts a climb above $7,000.
That's CBS's Michael Wallace. It appears the U.S. Supreme Court is backing Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook in her fight to stay on the job. The justices hearing arguments today in the case involving her firing back in August by the Trump administration over alleged mortgage fraud. U.S. Solicitor General John Sauer arguing before the justices.
Deceit or gross negligence by a financial regulator in financial transactions is cause for removal.
Court analysts, though, say even the more conservative justices seemed skeptical that Trump had the authority to remove Cook, who has remained on the job. A decision is expected later this year. A federal agent injured after a vehicle pursuit led to shots being fired. This happened during an immigration enforcement operation in Los Angeles. Officials say a man being pursued in a chase was a criminal illegal alien who weaponized his vehicle and rammed law enforcement. The DHS says agents opened fire in self-defense. No one was struck by gunfire, but an agent was injured. The House committee looking into the Jeffrey Epstein investigation started contempt proceedings today against former President Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton after they failed to show for their scheduled depositions. Chair James Comer.
We repeatedly informed the Clintons' attorney that written statements would not be accepted. The subpoenas required depositions. Federal courts have consistently held that witnesses may not impose their own conditions upon the manner of congressional inquiry.
Bill Clinton has been featured in several Epstein photos, but has maintained he did nothing wrong during his associations with the now deceased sex trafficker. The full House could vote this week whether to find the Clintons in contempt of Congress. That YouTuber, credited by Republicans for uncovering billions of dollars in fraud in Minnesota, says his generation is just sick of the government fraud problem. 23-year-old Nick Shirley, one of 4 witnesses to appear before the House Judiciary Subcommittee on Crime and Federal Government Surveillance.
I've helped bring to light widespread fraud that's happening inside our nation, and we the people have had enough of our hard-earned money going towards fraudsters as if it's no big deal.
The Director of Government Affairs at the Project on Government Oversight also testified.
We need to promote more accountability, transparency, and compliance mechanisms within the chain of spending for federal funding. If we don't do this, we will never have a good grasp on where funding is going, where it's ending up, who is being helped by it, who is being missed by it, and what the ultimate impact is.
Minnesota Democratic Governor Tim Walz said the firestorm from the fraud investigation was the big reason he's not seeking re-election. Well, the nominees for the infamous Razzies are out now, the awards ceremony known for honoring the best, worst movies released throughout the year, giving winners the infamous Golden Raspberry, Disney's live-action Snow White, and Universal's War of the Worlds, tied for the most Razzie nominations with 6 total, sharing a nomination for the worst movie category. Still to come here on the 5 o'clock report, we'll have a recap for you of our day's top local stories and highlights from today's Real Answers.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. A clipper coming through tonight means cloudy skies, patches of snow and flurries, light accumulations, and some blowing snow for some, low temps 20s. Tomorrow and Friday, blustery, variable clouds and sun with flurries in areas of lake effect snow. High temperatures tomorrow, low 30s, but much colder Friday in the teens and low 20s. Then it will be frigid over the weekend with a potential for significant snow region-wide Saturday night through Sunday night.
All right, we'll be watching that, Kevin. Thank you very much. Checking the stories making news where you live across New York and Pennsylvania. We'll start in PA. A tragic story out of Elk County. 3 dead from a house fire in Highland Township. A 76-year-old man, 78-year-old woman, and a 21-year-old woman all found deceased in that home. A 4th occupant hospitalized. The cause of that fire is under investigation. Next to Albany, New York Governor Kathy Hochul yesterday taking the wraps off of her record $260 billion state budget proposal. The package $6 billion more than last year. The governor puts a lot of the blame for fiscal uncertainty on the back of the Trump administration, which is threatening to withhold federal aid due to New York's stance on immigration enforcement.
Clearly, we could not have planned for this, but here's how we'll deal with it. We'll continue to find ways to improve efficiency because bending the cost curve matters the most. But we will not shift costs onto families or leave vulnerable communities without a lifeline the way Washington has.
Assembly Minority Leader Will Barclay says the governor is just using the president as a scapegoat because it's an election year and he's an easy target in deep blue New York.
Well, one thing I said after the State of the State, and maybe after, you can't blame everything on President Trump. We have one-party rule here.
Hochul wants to spend $4.5 billion on universal pre-K without raising taxes. She also unveiled a plan to lower auto insurance rates by cracking down on fraud. New York's budget deficit is expected to exceed $34 billion by 2029. On a positive economic note, the Western New York economy is getting a shot in the arm. Plans are in the works for a new $390 million textile regeneration facility in Rochester. The French-owned company will locate in the Eastman Business Park, should become fully operational by 2029. It's expected that plant will employ about 70 people, converting discarded textiles into high-quality polyester. The Red Cross is in need of your blood. A severe shortage right now. Spokesman Michael Tedesco tells WHAM.
We are now across the nation about 35% down over the last month in blood donations.
Recent bad weather and high flu activity aren't helping.
Cancer patients are in dire need of platelets because theirs are depleted from either the disease itself or their treatments.
Tedesco says if you'd like to help out, go to the Red Cross website, make an appointment ASAP.
The impact you can make by giving blood is unreal.
Anyone who gives blood from now through January 25th will be entered for a chance to win a couple of tickets to Super Bowl 60 in California. Speaking of which, the owner of the Buffalo Bills holding a news conference this morning in the wake of the team's firing of popular head coach Sean McDermott for not making it to the Super Bowl. Terry Pagoulis says the Bills' most recent playoff loss was the last straw for him.
My decision to bring in a new coach was based on the results of our game in Denver. We are focused on bringing a Super Bowl to Buffalo.
Pagoulis says the phone's already ringing off the hook with candidates who were looking to take that Bills head coaching job. GM Brandon Beane says interviews could begin as soon as today. All right, up next, highlights from today's edition of Real Answers. I had a chance to speak with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson this week about the overwhelming amount of media news and opinions thrown our way. It's like a never-ending fire hose, and how to avoid allowing all that to cause media-driven anxiety and depression.
We've got what is called the legacy media, CBS, ABC, NBC, the big names in the media. And then we've got, of course, social media now, and that is all sorts of people want to be influencers and give their opinion and this and that. You've still got some true journalism outlets out there, but they're getting harder to find, and you have to look for them. You really have to look for them, but there's such big differences. The big media outlets now, the legacy media, these are really just opinionists now. They've really gone beyond just reporting the facts. It's now they want you to see it the way they want you to see it.
Yeah, it's almost like you take sides. My news says this, well, but my news says that. How do you differentiate between what's news and what's opinion?
You really need to look at the nature of what you're hearing. Not all news outlets are the same. It's pretty clear without actually calling out the names of them which ones are much more guilty at spinning the news stories. Pay close attention at the nature of the reporting. If you're just hearing nothing but character defamation for one person or a group of people, you can be pretty certain that this is not necessarily going to be a truthful report. False reporting is very much rooted in this political agenda, and it's very much not doing anybody any service. And it's really just breaking apart our society. This is the real problem. It's rooted in hatred. The nature of our society has changed, which has allowed for this to happen. If we get right down to it, we are in sadly a post-Christian era in our world, and even in America, unfortunately. We've got a foundationless, a moralless society now where people believe that they somehow have the right or the power to define for themselves a new set of morals or a new reality, regardless of what the laws say. Just look at what's happening in today's society. Look what's happening in Minnesota and other places. We've got a certain segment that is really having an unwillingness to define what a woman is. It's to simply advance a political agenda and to get votes. Well, this change has also significantly impacted what used to be called journalism.
Yeah.
The same term continues to be used, even though it's not being used accurately. Folks that are branding themselves as journalists, but really just advancing their own opinions and agendas, they still want to be called journalists, and they still say they work for news outlets and of using that term lightly. But quite honestly, they're unwilling to stop at reporting the facts, or they conveniently leave out the full story, or they alter the story, or they flat out make up stories. So if you don't have a solid foundation on biblical principles and morals and an objective sense of right and wrong, which our nation was founded on, then there's no reason to expect that the folks who are putting out these news stories are going to hold to that. And that's what we're up against today.
You touched on my next point there. I guess it's never been more important than now to take in all of that overwhelming amount of information through a scriptural filter.
Absolutely. You've got to stay grounded in God's word and hold these news stories up to the Bible, if nothing else, to understand what might be happening on a biblical timeline. It may take some of the element of surprise out and actually may help bolster your faith and bolster your experience of your faith and your relationship with God, seeing that, hey, this is what the Bible said, and guess what? It's happening. So that could be a good thing in and of itself, but you really got to pay close attention to what is being shared to pull out the facts from the opinion. Another thing is, again, turn those notifications off on your phone. Do you really need to be 24 hours a day checking the news? Probably not. And there's a good chance that if you're that caught up into it, you're not really checking the news, you're checking the opinion. We are what we take in. Even Jesus was like, we're commanded to take captive every thought and hold it up to the Bible and to just say, what am I really taking in here? And the quantity, again, I just can't get past that. The quantity of what we're taking in these days is just far beyond healthy, and it's also impacting, again, not only our mental health, it's impacting our relationships, it's impacting the way we take care of ourselves physically, so it really is a far-reaching problem.
Licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson on today's Real Answers, talking about avoiding media-driven anxiety and depression. You can hear the entire feature and all of our Family Life original news features at Apple Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, and FamilyLife.org. This is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
Having a will is one of the simplest and most loving steps you can take to care for your family. Hi, I'm Rob West with another Faith and Finance Minute. A will isn't just a legal document, it's a stewardship decision. It brings clarity where there could be confusion, peace where there might be conflict, and direction when loved ones need it most. Without one, the state decides what happens to your assets, and that rarely reflects your values or your faith. A will allows you to bless the people and ministries you care about, pass on wisdom alongside your resources, and make thoughtful decisions now so your family isn't left with difficult ones later. If you don't have a will, take a first step today. Wise planning is an act of love and faithful stewardship. Manage your finances wisely with the easy-to-use FaithFi app. Download FaithFi, Faith and Finance from your app store, or learn more at faithfi.com.
Thank you, Rob. Still to come on the 5 o'clock report, a classic case of right person, right place, right time. After Weather with Kevin.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. The main weather story we believe heading into the weekend is an epic winter storm that'll be impacting much of the country from Texas to New England, and we believe there'll be significant impacts in our region. Snow, heavy snow, increasingly likely now from Saturday night through Sunday night amidst an Arctic cold air mass. In the meantime, a clipper coming through tonight means cloudy skies, patches of snow and flurries, light accumulations, and some blowing snow for some, low temps 20s. Tomorrow on Friday, blustery, variable clouds and sun with flurries in areas of lake effect snow. High temperatures tomorrow, low 30s, but much colder Friday in the teens and low 20s. Then it will be frigid over the weekend with a potential for significant snow region-wide Saturday night through Sunday night.
All right, we'll be watching for all of that. Kevin, thank you very much. Finally at 5, when a woman drove her SUV into the cold surf near a Virginia Beach restaurant last week, she couldn't have known who was inside eating lunch. It was veteran Navy aviation rescue swimmer Jeremy Way, who, along with other Good Samaritans, immediately jumped into harm's way to save her.
I'd already been taking my phone and my wallet and my knife out of my pocket. Once I confirmed there was a person, and I just dove right in.
When he reached the woman, her vehicle quickly sinking, she didn't seem to want to be rescued, but Way found a way.
I told her to unlock it, and she was like, oh, no, I'm not unlocking it. I don't want to be here. I told her, like, we've all been there. She finally came out, and I did what I've always been taught, some rescue swimmer techniques, threw her in a cross chest carry, threw her on my hip. I was holding her the whole time, trying to console her, tell her that it's okay, like, everything happens for a reason, like, mental health's no joke. We've all been there.
Everyone involved survived, Way crediting bystanders for making the daring rescue possible. Way says the motto for he and his fellow rescue swimmers is so that others may live, a credo he lived out when it mattered most. And that's the world we live in for Wednesday, January 21st, 2026. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Webster, Family Life News.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.